going on, Vikings fans? Welcome on in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show with roster and cut down day just around the corner, I want to go over 5 surprising cut candidates for your Minnesota Vikings. Now, before we dive into it, if you guys could help us reach our next milestone in terms of total subscribers, we're closing in here on 58,500 subs, and we just need 239 more of you guys to hit that subscribe button today. So if you guys want to help me out, make me look good for my bosses, and have more Vikings content on your YouTube page, hit that subscribe button today. And once you have hit that sub button, drop me a SKOL down below in the comment section. All right, let's dive into it. 5 Vikings cut candidates. Now, I do think the Vikings roster is pretty set in stone. I don't think there would be, many, completely shockers on this list. But, the Vikings past couple of years had to have a couple of those shockers. So we'll see if we can figure them out on today's show. But we're going to start off here with Mekhi Blackmon, former third-round pick out of USC. Now, Mekhi has obviously had a rough offseason. He hasn't looked too good during OTAs, during training camp, even joint practices, a couple of viral clips of him just getting schooled by Patriots receivers. And also during the preseason, especially this past week against New England, he struggled. And it wasn't in a small sample size. He played 55 snaps, and his overall PFF grade was 52.1, but the concerning part here was the coverage grade, 44.5. He also got beat in man coverage a lot on that Chisholm touchdown. He was just running a drag route. Mekhi Blackmon, he just got completely lost, and then Chisholm caught the ball. Mekhi tried to wrap him up and make a play, and he couldn't do just that. So he hasn't been making plays. He's been getting beat, and I think the Vikings have a solid 5-man unit that they have really zeroed in on, where obviously Byron Murphy, Isaiah Rodgers, they're the two really for sure locks at this cornerback room. Like, honestly, this could go a number of different ways, but Murphy and Rodgers are the two guys for sure going to make the team at the CB spot. And then I think they're going to go with the 2 UDFAs, Dwight McGlothern and Zamiah Vaughn. Now, maybe they would give the nod to, Blackmon over Vaughn, but with how good Vaughn's been playing lately, I don't think you can just let him go on the practice squad, because then another team's going to poach him. And I do think El Jefe, Jeff Okudah, will be ending up making the team. I think Okudah will probably be the 3rd cornerback listed when it's all said and done. But the question becomes, do the Vikings keep 5 or 6 corners? I think they're only going to keep 5. At least that's what they've done the past couple of years, which makes Mekhi Blackmon the number 1 cut candidate here on today's show. But number 2, we're going to talk about Ty Chandler, one of my favorite players over the last couple of years for the Vikings. He was a guy coming out of North Carolina. I thought he had just crazy juice, and he honestly showed flashes for a couple of plays last preseason. And honestly, when he got spot starts with injuries to the Vikings running back position, he played some good football. But again, that was last season. This season at training camp, this season in OTAs, he hasn't really looked apart. And honestly, I think the Vikings trading for Cam Akers the last couple of years at the deadline, when they have had injuries at the running back spot, kind of tells me that they don't have full faith in Ty Chandler. And also a guy by the name of Zavier Scott, I think he went out there and just took his job during the preseason. And, I will make this more about a positive to Zavier Scott than just kind of dogging on Ty Chandler. But PFF grade, nod goes to Zavier. He had 17 carries for 68 yards, a way better yards per carry compared to Ty, who had, 8 carries for 17 yards, only 2.1 yards per carry. And then even the receiving game, like Zavier Scott, they're giving him screens during the preseason. And every time he touched the football, I felt like he was making a play. And that's why I'll say this. Scott went out there and he took Chandler's job this offseason. Like, heading into preseason, heading into training camp, this was Ty Chandler's job to lose. But what did Zavier Scott do? He went and took the job from him. So, again, this is more about praise to Zavier Scott, with the Vikings only going to keep 4 guys at the running back, fullback position, with Jones, Mason, and Scott getting the 3rd running back spot. And then obviously with C.J. Ham getting the fullback spot. I just think it's going to be tough for him to make this team. He'll probably go to the practice squad. I could see another team poaching him, but I would be shocked if Ty Chandler ends up making this roster. Now, a bit of a surprise here. Sam Howell. Now, obviously, Sam Howell has not looked good this entire offseason. Brian Flores has been dominating him and the second-team offense at training camp damn near every single practice. And the reason I'm going to choose to cut Sam Howell and why I think he's a cut candidate is because there's really zero upside with Sam Howell. We know who he is. Like, we know what type of quarterback he is at this point. He's not going to show us something where it's like, okay, there we see the potential. He can get a lot better. We know who he is at this point. And plus, the backup, Max Brosmer, has just flatly outplayed him. like Brosmer has made bigger time throws. He has commanded the offense better. I think he's been more accurate. I think he's processed the game a lot better. And I think the Vikings at the end of the day are going to just keep two quarterbacks. So I could have included Brett Rypien on this as well, but I do think Rypien will be put back on the practice squad, and he'll be that emergency third quarterback. But I think they're just going to flatly cut Sam Howell. He'll probably get picked up by a different team, and the Vikes would just keep two quarterbacks, obviously one being J.J. McCarthy, and then two being Max Brosmer. So I think that's kind of how it's going to play out for Sam Howell. Vikings will probably only keep two quarterbacks there, and it's unfortunate since I not super high hopes for him, but I at least just wanted to see something out of him during the preseason, especially week 1. Like, he played pretty good, but week 2 had one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. He was rolling out to his left. He tried to throw the ball out of bounds, and he didn't have the arm strength to get it there. Ended up resulting in a terrible, terrible interception. So I think the Vikes just keep two quarterbacks. Brett Rypien will be the emergency third one. And I think Brosmer, when it's all said and done, he'll be QB2 on this team. But I'll ask you guys this. Pick a quarterback 2 for me. If you're rolling with Mad Max, give me a 12 down below. If you're going with Brett Rypien, give me an 11. But maybe you're going to roll with Sam Howell here. Vikings obviously traded for him for a reason. Now, I will say they only traded back about 20 spots, so it's not like they have a lot of capital invested in Sam Howell. So I just think when it's all said and done, after this Friday night, Max Brosmer will be the no-doubt QB2, and Sam Howell will unfortunately be cut. Now, we'll dive into 2 more names here in just a second, but today's episode of Vikings Now by Chat Sports is brought to you guys by Prize Picks, and preseason football is underway and college football is here. So don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. If you guys download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS, we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 different states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks puts their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Now, Prize Picks is actually hooking you guys up with a free square for week 1 of the football season, where just one Dak Prescott passing yard will get you 1 win on Prize Picks. So make sure you guys include this in all of your lineups. It's a gimme. Prize Picks is hooking it up with this one, so make sure you guys include that in all of your lineups over the next couple of weeks. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But massive shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's finish it off talking about 2 more guys here. Now, honestly, this one hurts because he has been such a standout in the preseason, and he's already becoming a fan favorite. But I got to include Elijah Williams on this list. Now, I think he has done everything in his power to put himself in the best position to make this team. He has been flashing during the preseason. He's been great in the run game. He's been great at getting to the quarterback. But I just think with how stacked the Vikings are at defensive tackle, it's just going to be tough for him to make the team. And, I do think the Vikings will keep 6 guys. Obviously, Allen and Hargrave are locks. Same with Harrison Phillips. And then I think they're going to give the nod to, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins and Jalen Redmond. And then that final battle, I think, is between 3 guys. Levi Drake Rodriguez, Taki Taimani, and then obviously Elijah Williams. But the Vikings were huge on Levi Drake Rodriguez this past draft. So I think they would give him the nod. And that's going to leave Elijah Williams on the outside looking in. I hate putting him on this list. He has been awesome. He has been impressing me. And hopefully the Vikings can, maybe keep him on the practice squad and know the team poaches him. But, what he's done during the first 2 preseason games has been unreal. An 81.4 overall PFF grade. He had 7 pressures, which is the most out of all defensive tackles this preseason. And his pressure rate, 20.59%. That's unreal stuff. And it all results in the 5 hurries, 2 quarterback hits, and 5 defensive stops for Elijah Williams. And all of that just coming in 61 snaps. So hopefully the Vikes can keep him on the practice squad. I could see another, I bet you if he gets picked up, it's going to be by like a really well-run organization. Like, it'd be like the Ravens or the Chiefs or one of these true blue blood franchises in the NFL. probably see what he's put out there on tape and ends up, scooping him up. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they choose Elijah Williams over Levi Drake Rodriguez. But I think the 5 are locks with Redmond, TID, Hargrave, Allen, and Phillips. And honestly, I could see the Vikings only keeping 5 defensive tackles, and they let them all walk out the door. But if they're picking one, I think it'll be Levi Drake Rodriguez over Elijah Williams. I'll talk about the edge position here. Tyler Baddy. He has shown some pop in the preseason. There's no doubt about it. But I just don't think he's done enough to, go and take the job from a guy like Bo Richter, where I think the Vikings will obviously keep the main 4 edge rushers, Grenard, Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, and Gabe Murphy. There's no doubt in my mind that all 4 of those guys will make the team. But then the question becomes, 1, do they even keep 5 edge rushers? And if they keep a 5th edge, who is it going to be? I still think it's going to be Bo Richter. They were huge on this guy as a UDFA last year. And really, Bo Richter's just a better version of him. I think Bo is a more physical football player. He's also shown more flashes during the preseason where, kind of similar to Gabe Murphy, how the Vikings coaching staff treated him last year. I'm sure they're going to view Bo as like, hey, obviously you're not going to get a lot of snaps this upcoming season, but learn from these guys. Learn from Gennard and Van Ginkel, and then hopefully when 3 or 4 years from now, when these 2 aren't here anymore, these 3 will take over the edge rusher position. It's still a top unit in the National Football League. But we appreciate all of you guys tuning in for today's episode of Vikings Down by Chat Sports. And if you made it to the end, give me a SKOL down below in the comments section. Also, hit me up on Twitter if you haven't already. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes.